Tonight, a public inquest into the mass stabbings on James Smith Cree Nation and in nearby Weldon has begun. Also, the polar vortex still has us and others in its grip. So cold that Saskatchewan is sending power to Alberta, a province with a struggling power grid. Plus, the countdown is on to a one-day strike for 13,000 teachers in the province.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, January 15th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. The coroner's inquest into the mass stabbings that happened in and around James Smith Cree Nation is now underway in Melfort. Our camera was allowed inside early this morning to record the setup. There's room for all the lawyers who were authorized to ask questions, the jury, the chief coroner, as well as a public gallery and a space for mental health supports. The inquest itself can't be shown. It will examine how 11 people died, not including the killer, Miles Sanderson, and what could be done to prevent future tragedies. An elder was invited to smudge and say a prayer, and outside the building, traditional firekeepers tended to a ceremonial fire.
The fire is to look after the people that are, some of them are mourning still. Yeah. Some of them are carrying grief. Some of them are angry. Some of them, they're kind of lost right now. But we have the fire there for a reason for them. To help them, to help the Creator, the Muslims, the Kugums, to come here, to bring the healing to the people.
Inside, the first order of business was to select a 6-person jury. That was done randomly from a list. The chief coroner says he consulted with the community and families. It was decided 3 jury members would be Indigenous and 3 would be non-Indigenous. Then it was time to call the first witness. The CBC's Jason Warwick has been sitting through the first day of the inquest in Melfort. He joins us now live. Jason, who did we hear from today?
Well, Sam, following that jury selection you mentioned and the instructions from the coroner, we heard from a police investigator who detailed the 48 hours, or much of the 48 hours, leading up to September 4th, 2022, when those 11 people were killed and 17 were injured. That police investigator talked about how Miles Sanderson, the one who was responsible for these killings, and his brother Damien went to James Smith to sell cocaine and to visit with a number of other people. And it quickly descended into threats. There was violence. They went to a couple of homes and beat people and got into altercations at different parties. There was a vehicle stolen from Damien Sanderson's partner's place, and that's when police were first notified that something was amiss at James Smith. And she called and said he had her vehicle and that he was wanted for a number of other charges. And so they went to the community, and for several hours, the police searched for Damien Sanderson. Miles was not on their radar at that time. So they actually went, as we've previously heard, to a house where there had been a party, and in the basement they questioned a number of people, and Damien Sanderson was actually there but gave a false name. And so the RCMP left at that point. We also learned today that Miles Sanderson was in that house, but when he saw the police arriving, he fled and hid in the bushes until they were gone. Then it went into the woman, the former partner of Damien Sanderson, and a text exchange that they had over those hours, over almost a 24-hour period, where he was delivering these increasingly ominous texts. At first, they were just profanity-laced, alternating between affection and anger, and then they became increasingly dark, where he talked about not being taken alive, and he and his brother were not going to go down without taking everyone with them, etc., etc., etc. She was begging him to calm down, and the texts became increasingly erratic. The lawyers and the coroner did mention, though, that at this point, no one had any idea that anything like this would happen in the days to come. But nevertheless, this is a telling text chain combined with the testimony and the other observations of the officer, we've now pieced together much of those 48 hours leading up to the killings.
Jason, a really heavy first day of the inquest. What can we expect in the coming days?
Tomorrow is expected to be an even heavier day. The lead up to the killings has been explained, and tomorrow we're expected to hear many of the details of the killing of those 11 people and the wounding of those 17 others on that fateful day, September 4th, 2022. And so it's been very difficult already for many people here, according to those that we've talked to. And that's just the people who felt that they could come today. There are only a few dozen people from James Smith here, if you don't count the leadership and the mental health support workers. There's many people here from the RCMP or lawyers or media, but there's many people from James Smith who were impacted that are not here. And as people said when I visited the community a couple of times last week, they just didn't think that they wanted to come. There are mixed feelings about whether this inquest is a good idea, whether it's just reopening painful memories without any purpose. But some are hoping that there will be a purpose, that they will find answers to what happened and that lessons will be learned, whether that is, whether there should be a police force at James Smith of its own, whether there should be mental health supports, whether the parole system needs to be reformed. So many things, so many ideas, and so many emotions already today, Sam.
Tough stuff. Thanks so much for this, Jason.
You're welcome.
Jason Warwick reporting live in Melfort tonight. It is so cold, and with cold, power use goes up. And people in Alberta found out this weekend that can be a real problem. Saskatchewan did swoop in to help, and Alexander Kwan has more on what it means for our grid.
Alberta had a rough weekend with temperatures in the -40s. An emergency alert warned people about possible rotating blackouts. It's because high demand overwhelmed the province's power grid. If that can happen to our neighbors to the west, can it happen here? So far, the answer from SaskPower is no.
That is sort of the last contingency that we would have to employ. We haven't had to use that ever in our history, and fingers crossed we won't ever have to in the future.
If, and a big if here, that was a problem, SaskPower has a plan. First, it would limit large emitters and make sure homes were safe. And while Saskatchewan may have experienced the same frigid cold as Alberta, SaskPower says there was no strain on our grid this weekend. In fact, there was spare capacity. So, Premier Scott Moe offered help to Alberta. He also used it as a chance to take a shot at the federal government, saying the 150 megawatts were from, quote, natural gas and coal-fired plants, the ones that the Trudeau government is telling us to shut down, which we won't. And while some might debate if that was appropriate, experts say that Moe does have a point, because they say the current alternatives aren't suitable here.
You essentially have an area that is going to be awash in cheap energy in the summer from wind and solar, and in shoulder seasons from wind and a little bit of solar. And then in the depths of winter, when we have really cold conditions and really high energy loads, those resources we're not expected to generate a lot. It's dark and it's not that windy.
In Saskatchewan, more than 65% of the power grid's capacity comes from coal or natural gas. A quarter of it combined comes from local wind, water, and solar generation. The rest is mostly imported.
That does have to be there. Is what's our solution to this problem? Where is the flexibility in the federal regulations? Where are the interties? What is going to happen to make this work?
So while power grid stability in this province may be okay for now, there could be challenges on the horizon. Alexander Kwan, CBC News, Regina.
No surprise with the polar vortex that we broke some weather records. Ethan Williams joins me now with a look. Just how cold was it?
Yeah, very cold. Over 20 temperature records, low temperature records broken. Many communities breaking them by a few degrees, and some long-standing records over 100 years old broken as well through the province. But it was in Swift Current where you hit -59 with the wind chill early Saturday morning. That actually ties the lowest wind chill that you've ever had in that city. And it's the first time in at least 25 years that you've been below -55 wind chill wise. Just up the road in Leader, you had some of your coldest low temperatures ever in that community, -46.4 Sunday. The last time it was colder than that, you have to go back over 80 years to January of 1943. That is not too far away from the coldest temperature ever, minus 47.8 recorded in the 1930s. Now, there is relief coming. Warmer weather is on the way, Sam. I'll tell you when that's coming up.
I can't wait for that. Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Well, as this cold continues, many are struggling to keep their water lines warm. The temperatures have led to many frozen pipes in homes and businesses. That includes Regina's Delta Hotel, which had flooding issues because of a water main break. And Regina City Hall was closed for today because of a pipe that burst as well. Plumbers say they've been working around the clock. They're warning people to stay prepared for the next blast of cold.
The insulation won't really help you that much. It's getting it away from that cold area, getting it into a warm space. Right? Or as well, if you do feel your water lines are at risk of freezing, try opening up the cabinets to your sink or bathroom vanity to help allow some of that airflow, some of that warm air from your house drift in, or turn the tap on just a little bit, let it dribble out, because as long as the water's moving, it won't freeze.
Myers says calls related to broken furnaces have also gone up over the past few days. He says having a portable heater is a good way to stay prepared and warm. Now, if only that worked for planes at airports.
When I looked at Saturday's numbers, for example, which I think was the worst day, of the 13 flights scheduled to depart, 9 were canceled and the other 4 were delayed, which is not great on a day like that. And we certainly empathize because it's tough when people are trying to escape the cold, many people going to other places and you're not able to get out. That's really tough. But we have seen since Saturday, as the temperatures have climbed back into the negative 20s, that makes it much easier for the airlines to operate and a lot more flights coming in and going out.
Reeves says it's not just the cold here that's a problem. If flights can't leave other airports because of storms, that causes a cascade of delays and issues. The Saskatoon International Airport also had some flights canceled or delayed over the last number of days. According to arrivals and departures for both airports, it looks like things will be more on track tomorrow. The countdown to a one-day strike by 13,000 Saskatchewan teachers is ticking away. Starting at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, teachers in some areas will start picketing. And depending on where you live, you can expect to see picket lines around shopping malls, on bridges, or on downtown streets. Last Thursday, the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation announced the job action. It's calling on the government to expand contract talks after 7 months of stalled bargaining. Teachers are demanding smaller class sizes and more support for kids with complex needs. A former school teacher in Saskatoon says she walked away from the classroom last June after 12 years. Kathleen Germ says it was a hard decision, but she says it was heartbreaking to see kids not get the support they need.
I had a student who was, really dysregulated and really struggling and was, being very violent to themselves and other kids. So I had no support. So I had to be holding the student and rocking them while I was trying to teach, while my other students who are intensive needs are maybe throwing desks or rolling around on the ground or arguing with other kids.
Germ says she's happy and proud to see teachers walking out and using their voices. If the strike goes forward, it will be the first time that teachers have walked off the job since May 2011. At that time, it was a 3-day strike. The STF says this strike will be canceled if the government will bargain on the issue of class sizes. The strike means schools will be closed tomorrow and parents must find alternate childcare. And while that's not easy, the people we spoke to say they support some job action.
I have some sympathy for the teachers. I mean, they're going through a lot, and I don't think they would take this action unless they thought it was necessary. So hopefully they can get this resolved soon and we get things back to normal.
I'm fully in support of it. I think they should be striking for a month or whatever they need to do until they get treated fairly.
They just shouldn't be out there because it's so cold. But otherwise, I think the teachers should be asking for what they need.
I feel like the strike is pretty necessary as class sizes. Some class sizes are up to like 40 kids, and there's some teachers that are teaching subjects that they weren't necessarily supposed to teach.
Backyard rink maker actually experiencing problem with cracking. This could be a solution for them.
Coming up, speed skaters in Saskatoon have come up with an innovative way to improve the city's prized skating oval that was plagued with scary cracks. It's thanks to volunteers, engineering students, and some 30-year-old Russian scientific research. And the coaches say this solution is believed to be the first of its kind. Stay with us.
This weather update is brought to you by Mercedes-Benz Regina, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
Welcome back. Our weather specialist, Ethan Williams, joins me now. You get the glory and you get the blame. So I ask, how long till we get a break?
Well, I think the glory's coming back pretty soon.
Yay!
Because, yeah, the weather is going to improve here, temperature-wise especially. But in the meantime, we're still a little bit on the cold side. Well, this is actually not bad compared to where we were last couple of days. We're getting into the minus 20s in parts of the province, but again, closer to the Alberta border where it has been cold the last little while. It's still colder over there. But in eastern sections of the province, really been seeing those winds pick up today, and particularly in Regina and the southeast, at times we've had gusts over 60 kilometers an hour. So you factor in a wind chill. Well, Regina isn't reporting right now, but in that area where you see the white there, wind chills, well, there we are, still kind of right around or just below minus 40. This is not too bad. Wind chill of minus 32. I can't believe I'm saying that in Maple Creek. And as a result of this polar vortex starting to move out a little bit, we are starting to see some extreme cold warnings drop off alongside the Manitoba border in east central and northeastern Saskatchewan. Another part of the reason that we're seeing those drop off is because of this low pressure system, which is actually going to move backward. It's moving from east to west, and that's actually going to bring through some snow and some cloud cover to the region tonight, warming up temperatures a bit. Separate system will bring through a little bit of snow tomorrow through extreme southwestern Saskatchewan as this system tries to stretch its way southward, but it'll probably dissipate before it hits much of south and central Saskatchewan as we head into early Wednesday morning. The southwest, though, will get another shot at snow as we head into early Thursday. Again, that system just passing through into the U.S., but the rest of us, save for northeastern Saskatchewan, likely going to be seeing some breaks of sun here and there before that snow in the northeast rounds through and we get some clearing heading into the rest of the work week. So in terms of snowfall totals, probably from this first round overnight tonight, tomorrow in the north of the province, we're looking for 2 to 4 centimeters generally, and that'll mostly be in that northeast part of the province. Add to that another 2 to 4, maybe 5 centimeters locally closer to the Manitoba border as that next system moves through a little bit later in the week. For southwestern Saskatchewan, probably 1 to 3 centimeters tomorrow. Maybe as far south as Hudson Bay with that system, we'll get a little bit of snow tomorrow, but then that next system moving through the southwest later in the week could bring maybe a good 5 to 10 centimeters there. Now, in terms of the winds, things are going to stay breezy overnight tonight. So wind chills, especially in the south, still going to be into the minus 40s. Still going to be breezy for much of us tomorrow. Gusts between 40 and 50 at most part of the day before those finally start to dissipate as we head into Wednesday. Now, temperature-wise, these next few days, we're sticking around minus 20 in Regina. Wind chills near minus 30. But you notice getting into the weekend, a sudden shift. We start to see those temperatures very drastically warming up. We get into those even low minus single digits by the end of the weekend and by this time next week. So for Saskatoon, same thing here, low minus 20s next few days. We're keeping the sunshine around, a little bit of cloud cover over the weekend, and then things dramatically improving as we start to head into the beginning of next week. I think I need a carrot on a stick icon here, Sam, to keep us going.
We need the snow, we need the snow.
Yeah, that too. Well, can't have everything.
Thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
Stay with us. We'll be back after the break. Saskatoon's prize skating oval has a new lease on ice thanks to dozens of volunteers, several U of S engineers, and a Russian scientist's 3-decade-old research. The magic is in fiberglass mesh, and it could be the first rink using it in Canada.
Go, go, go!
It's kind of a unique situation, the way that we're building the ice on this new system where there's a different layer underneath. If you're just making ice on grass or on dirt, you wouldn't really need this because my theory anyway, is that the grass is kind of serving the function of the fiberglass and having a little bit of fibrous material to hold it together. But if a club was, or a backyard rink maker actually, experiencing problem with cracking, this could be a solution for them.
it would get really cracky and it would go like along the track when we were skating, so it was kind of scary to skate on because we'd get our blades cut.
First, I just Googled how do you reinforce ice, and the first thing that came up was this project in World War II called, well, it was the British. They were creating a floating aircraft carrier made of ice. And they were doing that by reinforcing the ice with sawdust. So the idea is that you want to have little fibers in there, and it makes it quite strong. But that really wouldn't work here for us to put a bunch of sawdust, because it would then end up on the track. So I kept looking and found a Russian scientist who was, back in the 90s, was trying to build structures out of reinforced ice, and he did a bunch of research and found that a fiberglass mesh was the strongest solution. So that's what we started looking into a little bit more. And we actually had an engineering design class at the University of Saskatchewan do some testing, and they kind of validated the theory. And so then 2 years ago, we had ordered a bunch of this fiberglass mesh, and we got it and put it in the ice, and it's made a difference. We don't have the same problems with the cracking anymore. So it's a fiberglass mesh about a meter wide, 50-meter rolls, and so it's very labor intensive to put it on 8,000, I think it's 8,000 square meters of ice. We had probably about 20 or 25 people come. The first year it was a much smaller crew, kind of did it on short notice, but this time we had about 20, 25 people that came. So it involves having a little bit of water put down on the ice, because there was already a bit of ice built up. And then a little bit of water, and then we roll out the fiberglass into that, put more water on top of it. Basically, it's fiberglass mesh that's frozen into about halfway in the middle of about 4 to 6 inches of ice. It's greatly improved the strength of the ice. It used to crack in kind of a spider, like it was just basically random cracking. There's still cracks, but now they're more predictable. They're across the width of they're perpendicular to the direction you're traveling, which is the way it used to be actually. We always used to have some cracks like that. And those really aren't a problem for skating because you just kind of go over them. So it's made a big difference. I mean, you can see that there's still some cracking, but it's not falling apart where your skate goes into the ice.
I feel like this is probably the best outdoor rink that's in Saskatchewan, because like we get it really quick before Christmas and we have lots of time to do practices, and it's just a really good facility too.
And Ethan's back with one last look at your weather.
Yeah, no problem making ice for those speed skating ovals right now. And soon you might actually be able to get to enjoy it. But for now, minus 27 in Regina tomorrow morning. Wind chill still pretty fierce with the winds picking up, though. Still going to be feeling like the mid-minus 30s by the afternoon. But we do have some sunshine to go along with that. Saskatoon, not much of a different story. Waking up feeling like minus 40. And then by the time we get to the afternoon, a little bit of cloud cover building in, but still feeling close to minus 40. But with all the sunshine, we get to enjoy the beautiful sun dogs out there. This from Terry in Regina in the Wascana View area. And just a gorgeous shot. Not a lot of snow on the ground, of course, there, Sam, but nice halo nonetheless.
We can find a silver lining in everything.
Sure can.
All right, thanks, Ethan.
You bet.
And that is it for us tonight. For news anytime, you can head to cbc.ca/Sask. You can subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel or download the CBC News app. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night and stay warm.